Max Verstappen and Red Bull in Formula 1 are two names that are synonymous with each other. You can't think of one without the other. It's kind of like fish and chips or ant and deck. Yeah, you can definitely tell I'm British. But anyway, Max Verstappen and Red Bull in F1 are two names that go together. However, there is growing rumours that they could be heading for a messy divorce. And if they do, it could be a disaster for Red Bull. And that is what I'm going to be talking about in today's video. And who could possibly replace Max Verstappen if he does leave. So let's talk about Red Bull and Max. Verstappen joined Red Bull in 2014 and joined the Red Bull F1 team in 2016 after being promoted from the Toro Rosso team as he took Daniel Kvyat's seat. It was not the only thing Verstappen took from Kvyat either. Anyway, it immediately proved to be the correct call from Red Bull, as Max Verstappen won his first race for Red Bull at the 2016 Spanish Grand Prix. Admittedly, it was helped by the Mercedes duo taking each other out, but Verstappen still spent the race battling the two Ferraris and Daniel Ricciardo, and he came out on top. It was clear immediately that a star was born, but it was not always easy going for Max Verstappen and Red Bull. Between 2017 and 2020, Max Verstappen had 18 DNFs with only 9 wins to show for it. After 2020, things definitely did get better for Max Verstappen as he won the World Championship in 2021, and there was definitely nothing controversial that was associated with that final Grand Prix. But then from 2022 to 2024, we saw some real domination as Verstappen obliterated the competition. Even in 2025, when the Mclaren was the clear favourite and the fastest car, Max Verstappen still managed to find himself taking the fight and almost somehow winning the World Championship in 2025 as well, even though Lando Norris and Piastri had a much better car. But now we move to 2026, and things between Max Verstappen and Red Bull have definitely soured. There is a growing rift between the two, and it is clear that we can see Max Verstappen is wanting a way out of his Red Bull contract to potentially find a move to McLaren. But why is this a disaster for Red Bull? Well, remember how I said Verstappen dominated in the Red Bull between 2022 and 2024? Well, in a way, it was mainly just Verstappen who dominated. In 2023, Verstappen scored more than double the points of his teammate Sergio Perez. And in 2024, Verstappen scored 437 points, and Sergio Perez only managed 152 points. In 2025, Verstappen scored 421 points, and Yuki Tsunoda only managed 33 points all season long, and Liam Lawson couldn't score a single point in the 2 races that he was Verstappen's teammate. So you can see why it is important Red Bull try to keep Max. If Verstappen does end up leaving Red Bull, it will leave Red Bull with a large hole to fill in the team, and Red Bull has already been through some major changes. In the last couple of years, Red Bull has lost or is about to lose the following personnel: Rob Marshall, Will Courtney, Jonathan Wheatley, Adrian Newey, Christian Horner, and Dr. Helmut Marko, just to name a few. And Helmut Marko was arguably the closest person to Max Verstappen. Well, he was, apart from this man who's about to leave Red Bull, which is Gianpiero Lambiase, or GP, who is leaving Red Bull to join McLaren. These are huge names to leave Red Bull, and it has almost certainly weakened their position in the sport. Adding Max Verstappen to that list will almost certainly cause major damage to the Red Bull team. Red Bull in 2026 has made some huge changes. They have left their partnership with Honda and built their own engine, and are working with Ford to work on their ERS system, and this is arguably the biggest positive, as it is rumoured that Red Bull has the most powerful engine. But the chassis of the Red Bull requires a lot of work. At the Austrian Grand Prix during qualifying, Max Verstappen lost the back end on his final push lap. Then at the British Grand Prix, Max Verstappen once again lost the back end going into Stowe Corner as he was trying to catch Lewis Hamilton. And in general, it is clear that Red Bull are struggling compared to the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, and maybe even McLaren at times. This is giving Verstappen ammo that he needs for leaving the team. Max Verstappen does have a performance-related exit clause in his contract, and it is looking increasingly likely that he will use that and leave the team, which could be messy for Red Bull. Verstappen's management has also been seen having meetings with McLaren, leading to the speculation that Verstappen could be about to join the Papaya team. Mercedes has pretty much ruled out that Verstappen would join the team, as they are somewhat happy with George Russell and they're definitely happy with Kimi Antonelli. But if Verstappen did leave, the question is, who would replace Max Verstappen at Red Bull? Well, let's start with the two Racing Bull drivers, Liam Lawson and Arvid Lindblad. Historically, the Red Bull team do like to promote drivers from within the Red Bull lineup, and in 2026, we have seen both Lindblad and Lawson massively impress people in the paddock. However, let's start with Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson is currently the lead driver in the Racing Bulls team with 39 points, and is currently only 3 points behind Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. Lawson had 2 races with Red Bull in 2025, however those 2 races were a complete disaster, and I honestly think that has ruined any hope that Liam Lawson will ever have of getting a shot at Red Bull. Kind of like Kvyat and Gasly. Both of those drivers put in great drives after losing their Red Bull seat in the sister team, but the damage was already done, and I think Lawson is a victim of that second seat curse. Then we come to teammate Arvid Lindblad. Lindblad is in his rookie season, and it has to be said that his rookie season has been very impressive. We saw him not being afraid of going wheel to wheel with Max Verstappen in Australia, and he has produced plenty of clean overtakes and has battled very hard for his positions. Lindblad though doesn't currently have the pace of Liam Lawson, but he is very close already. I don't think Lindblad is ready for the Red Bull seat yet. He has great pace, but still has a lot of work to do, and a bit more pace to find. I think next year, as he moves into his second season, we will see Lindblad really shine, and he will become the team leader, which will open the door to potentially see him move to the Red Bull seat if one opens up at the end of 2027. So if it's not either of the Racing Bull drivers, then who could it be? Well, let's start with the McLaren driver that Max Verstappen could be replacing, which is Oscar Piastri. Piastri has been at McLaren since 2023, and during that time he has been close at times to Lando Norris, and even was beating Norris rather consistently at the beginning of 2025. However, as the season progressed, there was definitely a sense and a feeling that McLaren preferred Lando Norris, and that became clear at the Dutch Grand Prix, when Zak Brown was visibly annoyed after Norris didn't finish the race and Piastri won the Grand Prix. After that, Piastri's form started to dip, and throughout 2026, it has definitely been feeling like Lando Norris has the edge over his teammate. There is growing rumours as well that Piastri and his management want out of McLaren, and this could make sense, as it could open the door for a potential seat swap, where Oscar Piastri heads to Red Bull, and Verstappen heads to McLaren. But if that doesn't happen, a new contender has risen up to be a driver who could potentially replace Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and it's a name that you might find to be quite surprising, and that is because it is current Haas driver Oliver Bearman. Oliver Bearman has been a fantastic driver for Haas. He joined the team partnering Esteban Ocon, and in 2025 it started off pretty close between the two, but as the season went on, Bearman started to beat Ocon on a fairly consistent basis, and in 2026, Bearman has beaten Ocon very easily. He has been the clear team leader, and is showing all the hallmarks of a driver who could easily move on up to a bigger team. Bearman is currently a Ferrari-backed driver, however, with Charles Leclerc recently signing a new contract, and with Lewis Hamilton performing very well in 2026, it is unlikely that a seat will open up at Maranello for Bearman. Alongside this, Ferrari are reportedly wanting Rafael Camara, to get a shot in Formula 1 as a Haas driver, and this could potentially open up the possibility of Behrman leaving Haas and the Ferrari Driver Academy to move to Red Bull and be a replacement for Max Verstappen if he does end up leaving the team. Red Bull themselves have said to be very impressed with Oliver Behrman and his performances since he debuted in F1, and honestly, it's not hard to see why. Behrman does have fantastic pace, and he has shown that on a consistent basis. Like I said, he has beaten Esteban Ocon pretty easily. The only real way that Behrman still needs to improve is some of his on-track antics, because he does have quite a lot of penalty points against him, which he did rack up very quickly. If he can get over those, then honestly, he could be a great driver as the seasons wear on. So, if Red Bull and Verstappen do head for a messy divorce, and Verstappen does leave and either joins McLaren or maybe even leaves F1 altogether, who would you like to see get the second Red Bull seat? Let me know down below, and if you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate it if you consider to become a channel member, as that really helps me out. And also, remember to like the video, because that also really helps me out. Thank you all so much for watching.